A Minnesota District Court judge has struck down a ban on binary triggers on guns. Most commonly, those binary triggers fire one round on the pull of the trigger and then a second round as it's being released. As Heidi Wigdahl explains, the judge specifically had issue with how it was passed, not necessarily the change itself.
Yeah, that's correct, Morgan. It was included in the 1,400-page tax omnibus bill, which lawmakers passed in the final minutes of the 2024 legislative session. Democrats proposed the ban in the aftermath of the killing of 3 Burnsville first responders in February 2024. But yesterday, Ramsey County District Court Judge Leonardo Castro said about the bill passing, quote, "Lawmaking did not occur within the framework of the Constitution."
What happened in Ramsey County District Court could impact how work gets done in future legislative sessions.
For the most part, the courts haven't had any problem with these broader omnibus fiscal bills for spending. The problem is, and this is I think what the single subject clause is aimed at, is bills that have public policy in them, policy provisions in which you jam or put together lots of different policy provisions together. So if we can make a distinction between omnibus finance bills and policy bills, what the court said is that that an omnibus policy bill violates the state constitution's single subject rule.
The single subject and title clause of the Minnesota Constitution says that no law can embrace more than one subject, and the subject must be expressed in the law's title.
The bill that was put in was a big policy bill which included lots of different provisions. It included something about guns. It included something about a whole range of different topics. And if you actually looked at the title of the bill was over a page long to try to make it sound like all this stuff was linked together. And this is the problem.
David Schultz, a political science professor at Hamline University, says the single subject rule is meant to prevent political mischief. He says if Attorney General Keith Ellison appeals the court's decision, there's a chance a higher court could invalidate the entire legislation that was adopted. The judge's decision could also lead to more groups challenging different parts of the bill.
The judge effectively invited that by saying that he can only invalidate this provision, but there may be other provisions that could be invalidated if other groups were to bring a case. And so this potentially could bring up an incredible amount of litigation from groups challenging a law that's already a year old.
And in future legislative sessions, it could change how omnibus bills are put together if it includes policy change.
They may have to be thinking about how the courts might strike some of this stuff down, and therefore it might temper some of their powers as a majority.
The Attorney General's office says it does plan on appealing the ruling. Here's what the governor had to say.
I strongly disagree with this decision, both on the binary triggers, and I think there's a broader discussion around single issue legislation. This is not a new discussion in Minnesota about single issue legislation, but I just think the reality, especially when you've done it long enough, becomes very difficult to pass 10,000 separate bills on separate issues.
It really is interesting hearing the experts say there that it could cancel out the entire bill itself. So, Heidi, my question is, though, bringing it back to that specific gun issue, is this going to be unique to Minnesota?
No, it's not. Some sort of single subject rule exists in 43 state constitutions, and it's not something, however, that's applied at the congressional level, Morgan.
All right, this is definitely something that we'll have to continue to follow. Thanks, Heidi. We'll be right back.